Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball theory / speculation video. Now before I get started with this, I just kind of want to make two things clear. First of all, this is a theory that MJ and I basically came up with. I'm going to link in the description the discussion that we had, so if you want kind of more of this, if you want the fun discussion that we had, please make sure to go check that out. Go check out MJ, go subscribe to him, the guy's really awesome. Secondly, this theory is going to deal a lot with headcanon, not a ton, and I feel like some of it does make sense, but if you don't like headcanon, please, this is your fair warning. I think it makes sense, but, it's really just an opinion, it's subjective, whatever. Anyway, I think, just kind of based off this, one of the things that's been really kind of very exciting for a lot of fans for Dragon Ball Super right now is the fact that potentially the Grand Priest is evil. There's a lot of people wondering what Frieza's plan is. The whole Zamasu is future Zeno type of theories and all this other stuff. Basically, the Tournament of Power is something more than we actually think it is, honestly. There's some kind of deeper meaning to it, and that's really what I'm going to get into. And if you saw the thumbnail, you saw the title, we're going to be talking about how I think Zeno and the Grand Priest and all this is basically a ruse to destroy the Yardrats. I know that sounds crazy, but I just want you to stay with me if you haven't heard this theory yet. So anyway, we all know that the Yardrats should not be in Universe 2. It's one of the biggest mysteries that we have from Dragon Ball Super and the Tournament of Power, and yet they don't necessarily deal with it. We got that little kind of, what is that guy doing there? But we never really kind of came back to him. He's basically been very much largely gone out of this tournament. I don't think we're actually going to focus it on it at all right now. I feel like that's something they would have done pretty soon into the fight if it didn't mean anything at all. And it's so strange that it really, shouldn't be there. I mean, there's something weird about that, and I don't think a lot of people are really thinking about it as much as I am. So with that being said, I just want to do my best to explain what I think is going on and how it all makes sense. Now, in order to make this make sense, we have to go all the way back to Dragon Ball Z. Now, stay with me here, because a lot of the things that people love about Dragon Ball Z is the fact that Frieza's character is so awesome, and also the idea that Frieza's character is the catalyst of almost everything that came from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z up until that point. If he didn't destroy planet Vegeta, he would have marooned, he didn't have to maroon Goku on planet Earth where no one came back for him. He wouldn't have changed his mind and learned and basically ended up killing Frieza for what it's worth. It's really kind of a cool story, and it did make a whole lot of sense, even though a lot of it was kind of retconned in later. I think they're basically, or could potentially be doing something similar here, and I think it's really kind of awesome that the start of everything playing out right now starts at the destruction by Frieza's hand of planet Namek, and how that basically led into all of this stuff, including the Tournament of Power, and potentially the wiping out of all these different universes and the reason for it. So one of the things I like about that is after Frieza and Goku fight in Namek, it's blown up and everything else like that. We know for a year or a year and a half, depending on the medium that you like, Goku goes and learns the instantaneous movement from the Yardrats, the people that are the catalyst of everything right now. I mean, Frieza's the catalyst, but the people who are basically at the forefront of everything that I'm going to be saying right now. And Goku, for the most part, never really teaches anybody like that. He never teaches Goku or Gohan or Vegeta or Piccolo or Krillin, even though it would have been super useful for everyone else to know that technique. He never teaches them. That's just because Goku's kind of a dick, but I'm not necessarily going to get into that. I think it would be a really cool situation, not even something they planned, but just kind of a unique retcon of the situation if Goku was the only one who knew this because they were playing towards this or they were building up towards this stuff. So obviously, going from that moment, we know Goku uses the instantaneous movement against Cell and Boo. They both don't know how to combat it, and obviously all that kind of goes to shit. They don't necessarily know how to fight Goku when he uses that technique. That's all Dragon Ball Z. That's not really necessarily the main focus here, but it does offer some kind of a basis for everything that's happened in Dragon Ball Super. And I, along with a lot of other people, say that Dragon Ball Super hasn't necessarily been the best kind of, I guess, well told story ever. I mean, I'm sure that's just a common criticism from everyone. It's a fun show. It offers a lot to talk about, a lot of speculation and everything like that, but it's not necessarily a good story. The arcs, you know, the main 5 arcs that we've had, you know, despite all the filler and everything, are basically just kind of fractured storytelling. You have the Battle of Gods arc, then you go basically directly to Frieza, and then the Champa arc, Universe 6 versus Universe 7 stuff, the Zamasu arc, and now the Tournament of Power, and there's no real kind of connection from one to another, even though there might be subtle hints and subtle situations that basically indicate what's going on. So I think kind of putting it all together, making it less of a fractured story and more of a story that they were telling throughout. The one thing I really have to say before all of this, in my first real big headcanon thing right now, is that Whis has been the one uploading to Godtube. When we saw Zamasu and Gowasu basically watching the tournament between Universe 6 and 7, and we wondered who was actually filming that, who uploaded that to Godtube, because that's a thing, we have to remember the fact that Whis was there with that staff of his, and one of the things we saw when Goku was fighting Beerus is that he was actually able to watch on his staff in a good viewpoint all the camera movements and all this other stuff, make it like a well-edited video, and he was trying to show Vegeta. So at least to me, that seems like something he might have a potential to be able to do, is record this stuff with his staff and then potentially upload it to Godtube. It would be really funny if Whis has like a super ton load of subscribers and everything, but that's just one stupid little thought. Anyway, so one of the things so knowing that, so just going off of that kind of headcanon thought that Whis is the one uploading all this stuff to Godtube, you have to imagine kind of 2 things from this. One being, it kind of nullifies almost everything that happened in Dragon Ball Z, because Whis wasn't there and because the Supreme Kai didn't necessarily do anything with Godtube. Then the fights with Cell and the fights with Boo were not documented. The fights with Frieza and all this other stuff were not documented. Whis was not paying attention to anybody, but everything in Dragon Ball Super has been documented onto Godtube, because Whis has been there basically for every single arc. He knows how to do this stuff, and he knows how to, I guess, he knows for the most part how these things work, and he's the one basically feeding this information to the other gods and potentially Zeno and the Grand Priest. Now, why does that really matter? Well, Goku in the fight between Beerus uses the instantaneous movement, and he doesn't necessarily know how to fight it. Beerus is super strange, like it's weird. He doesn't know how to combat that. It's like he's never really seen anything like that, even though we see Whis have somewhat of the same ability with the fact that he can move super fast, but it's not necessarily the same thing, because Goku uses the instantaneous movement to fight Frieza, not necessarily gets Whis to take them there. I think they even say it's faster, so they do that instead. And then you have basically the Supreme Kai who knows something similar, but it's still not necessarily the instantaneous movement. So I think the closest we've seen is the Grand Priest taking the teams into the World of the Void, but even that is a little weird, considering the fact that, I mean, that might just be like a teleportation, like a beam me up Scotty thing, or just a way to get people to the World of the Void. I mean, how else do you get there if it's not necessarily connected to any of the universes? So anyway, we see, because Whis is there, the fight between Frieza and everything, he's uploading all this stuff to Godtube, potentially making its way back to Zeno and the Grand Priest. And as we said before, Goku knows the instantaneous movement, the Yardrats know the instantaneous movement. Well, why does that make sense? Okay, we gotta kind of explain everything that happened in the Champa arc and the Future Trunks arc, and some of the things that Whis has been telling us throughout this. So first of all, in the Champa arc, right before the tournament, we have one thing in particular. When he says, you know, there are 12 universes, that's the way the multiverse works, and apparently, you know, they're all twins of each other, and if you add them up, it makes 13. That's later contradicted in the Future Trunks arc when he says that there were originally 18 universes, and Zeno basically blew up all of them. Like all of these like all 6 universes, and now there's only 12, so that's just the world we live in now. But they never really explained why he got annoyed, why he got so mad to do all of that with no real repercussions or anything else like that. Well, one of the things that Champa and Vados talk about during the Champa arc is essentially, in order to get Hit to basically join the team, Vados promises Hit the cube, and Champa, at least at that point, feels like that's a bit of a taboo thing. One of the things he's worried about is a mortal, a Negan, basically having a tool to basically go in between all these universes and potentially also move faster than the Gods of Destruction and the Gods of Creation. One of the things that we've learned in the Tournament of Power arc, or the Universe Survival arc, is that there's a thing called mortal levels, and if you have someone doing a job, like someone like Hit, or someone with some kind of power, or someone who has at least enough power or enough technique to basically kill someone who needs to be killed in another universe, or do this, that, or the other, it throws off everything. It just throws off all of the mortal level, and gods can't do their job properly because they can't manage it themselves. So if Hit's going around all these universes and basically killing people for profit or doing anything that he was going to do, it was going to be this big taboo thing because he was going to be messing up the gods of destruction job and the gods of creation job. And one of the things that was also given to us during the universe survival arc is that there's only 28 living beings on Universe 7's whole plane, as long as the Supreme Kai really knows what he's doing and he's actually good at his job, which, you know, is debatable at this point. It's really debatable. But he said that there's only 28 living beings in the entire, you know, life with Earth, I guess, Earths with life or whatever, on the entire universe. You imagine that even just one mortal like Hit could really, really mess up that really delicate, balanced ecosystem that all of these universes kind of rely on and keep the mortal level high. So this is a huge taboo thing. Now, in order to basically talk about the Yardratian people and why it's weird that they're in Universe 7 and in Universe 2, and the fact that Goku knows how to use the instantaneous movement because he learned it from the Yardratian people, and Whis has been basically recording this and uploading this to Godtube so much that all the other gods can watch this, and potentially the Grand Priest and Zeno, is that kind of tips them off that, look, say for instance that Zeno basically destroyed those 6 universes because someone like the Yardrat people basically, they know the instantaneous movement, they know all these other things, and they are potentially universal nomads. They go from one universe to another, they go to one universe to another, they're basically, I guess, getting more technology, learning different techniques, whatever it would be. You know, they're basically messing up the ecosystems of all of these universes, and it potentially lowers the mortal level drastically. Because if you're going like one race of people who take up resources from other planets or kill other people or do all this other stuff, invading some place that's not their natural habitat, and they're moving so quickly with the instantaneous movement between all these other universes that the gods of destruction basically can't keep up with them, and they don't even know how to track them or what they look like or even what they're looking for. And the only way they know they were even there is that the mortal levels are basically going down in that universe. It would make Zeno so mad and so hard to actually keep up with everything that he would just rather blow up 6 universes than do anything about it. So what if he did that? What if he blew up 6 universes in order to get rid of the Yardratian people? And he thought he did. He actually, honest to God, thought he did, except for when Dragon Ball Super starts and Goku starts using the instantaneous movement to basically, I guess, go in between and fight Beerus and go and fight Frieza and everyone else. That kind of tips them off. Like, how does this guy know that, you know, this technique that we were dealing with all those years back in order to take out that entire race that we couldn't necessarily catch or even I guess, combat? You know, we don't even know what they look like to the most part because they were so fast and they were always one step ahead of us. How does he know this? So it tips them off that the Yardratian people are actually still alive. And then they also look at the mortal levels because it seems like Zeno's like super lazy sometimes, and they realize that, yeah, like all these mortal levels are going down on all these universes, and it's not because of Beerus or Champa or any of the other gods of destruction not doing their jobs super properly. It's because these kind of parasites that are infesting all these other universes, and that's why they picked the 8 that they did, because these are the best. These are probably the universes that actually have, for the most part, these Yardratian people in there, because the mortal levels are way lower than they should be. And it's the gods of destruction's fault, but it's also the fact that they're basically taking up this kind of delicate resource and lowering it to the most part where, you know, we're at this again. We have to destroy most of the universes in order to get rid of these things. So they make this whole tournament as out of smoke and mirrors to basically drive out this entire race, or at least one person from them. And that's why we have on Universe 2 a Yardratian fighting, because of potentially, what if this guy is not only has the instantaneous movement, but also has all those other techniques that Goku was talking about, and it might be even a really strong character to the point where even though he looks like nothing, even though he's basically a wolf in sheep's clothing, that's exactly what he is. And he is going to actually be the main antagonizing force in this. It's not Jiren, it's not the Pride Troopers, it's not Goku and Gohan versus anyone else. It's literally this guy who's just kind of in the background looking all smug, and Goku, for everything that's going on here, the cool thing about this is that Goku is the only one who knows what this guy is or who he looks like. So Grand Priest, Zeno, all the gods of destruction, all the angels, and all these other people don't know who they're looking for. They just know that there's some kind of being out there, there's some kind of race out there that is ruining the delicate ecosystems of all these universes, and they don't know what they're looking for. But Goku, because of his fight with Frieza back on Namek, and the fact that he actually kind of, I guess, ran into the Yardratian people and all that, Goku knows who he's looking at, and he just doesn't know the secret plan between, you know, Zeno or the Grand Priest or all the angels or all this other stuff. And I just think that that is such a cool, unbelievably interesting idea that I would literally mark out for it, and I think a lot of other people really would. So make sure to tell me what you think about this in the comment section below. I know it was kind of rambly, but I really hope you got something out of it. I hope I blew your mind. If I did blow your mind, please make sure to tell me in the comment section below. Tell me if you think this makes sense. Tell me if you think you can think of any other things that would help support or deny this theory. Don't forget to share this video out to all your friends. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell over by the subscriber button because you don't want to miss more videos like this. But with that being said, guys, I hope everyone has a good day. It's been real.